Oi, oi. So the budget speech came and went yesterday, the 12th of March, 2025. It is the first time in our democratic history, arguably maybe in government's history in this country, where a budget speech has been postponed. It was postponed last month because it had leaked that the Minister of Finance, Enoch Godongwana, was going to increase value-added tax by 2% from 15% to 17%. And many people, the opposition parties and other people were very, very upset. So they were looking for solutions around that. And even up until the 11th, 12th of March, they hadn't really found a solution. The South African population, by and large, is undereducated. Our schooling system is not the greatest. And people leave matric grade 12 without really having a real understanding of how this country works, politics, the economy, having real skills that they can contribute with. So because we're undereducated and because most people are kind of dependent on government, we have politicians that speak to South Africans as if they are children. And the counter suggestion by Enoch Godongwana to counter this 2% is nothing more than a form of gaslighting for most of us. So what he suggested, instead of increasing VAT from 15 to 17%, is to say that they'll increase it by 0.5 points or 0.5%. So VAT is going to go up to 15.5% in this year. And then next year, I think in May, and then next year, April, it's going to increase by another 0.5 points or 0.5% to take it to 16%. So within a year, it's going to increase by 1%. And I won't be surprised if he's Minister of Finance, if it's going to go up again by another 0.5 until he gets his 2%. So it's just maneuvering, which is meant to look slick, but it's actually not. John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, went on to say they do not support the current speech, budget speech, and they're going to counter it. Kind of makes me sad because it's like, then what was the point of the government of national unity and you guys halting this thing? Was it not so that you guys engage this guy and find something that makes sense? Why does it seem like this budget speech is also a surprise for them? Or is the DA also taking South Africans for children and pretending like they didn't know what was going on, which is very upsetting for some of us who are a bit more understanding and knowledgeable of these things. But that's where we are. Some other things to consider for people that may not know. Social grants are a big one in this country. The old age grant, what we know as pension for the elderly, goes up by 130 Rand to 2,115 Rand per month. This is similar to the disability grant, which also goes up by the same amount, 130, and is also the same amount per month. If you are disabled in South Africa, you are entitled to a disability grant of 2,315 Rand. The child grant is one of the biggest in this country that people speak about. It went up by 30 Rand to 560 Rand per month. Many South Africans for children under the age of 18 collect this child grant every month. It's going up to 560 Rand. Foster care grant up by 70 Rand to 1,250. There's a war veterans grant. I'm sorry to put this in a crass way, but luckily war veterans are dying out, so there aren't that many war veterans left. But that's gone up by 130 Rand to 2,335 Rand per month. And then there's two other grants, not that important for ordinary people. If you want to maybe see the summary of the budget speech, there are videos, there are summaries that I've done, are going to do a much better job than me. This video is not really about summarizing the budget speech. Increase in sin tax. People that drink beers and ciders are going to be paying an extra 16 cents in tax for a 350 milliliter can. People that drink spirits for 750 milliliter bottle are going to be paying an extra 5 Rand 97 in tax. People that drink wine, an extra 48 cents for a 750 ml bottle. Sparkling wine, an extra 90 cents for 750 ml bottle. People that smoke, this is a fucking bad habit and you need to stop smoking. If you smoke cigarettes, an extra 1 Rand 4 cents in tax on a pack of 20. If you smoke tobacco or pipe tobacco, 50 cents for 25 grams. If you smoke cigars, an extra 8 Rand 49 cents. 8 Rand 49 cents for 23 grams of cigars. These guys that think they are bosses out there. For people that vape, I vape, an extra 14 cents in tax per milliliter. That's sin tax. And then I just wanted to read here. Personal income tax brackets, pay as you earn, have not seen any adjustments, no adjustments to people that pay tax on their salaries, meaning earners will effectively pay more in real terms as salaries increase with inflation, sadly. but tax thresholds have remained unchanged. Government spending in general is going up by 5.6%, which is obviously going to have a knock-on effect on so many other spaces as well. South Africa continues to battle its rising debt obligations, which now stand at 76% of GDP, while the budget deficit grew to a further 5%. People don't know, but the South African government owes 5.2 trillion rand. 5.2 trillion rand in debt. That's money that they owe the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, money that they owe retail bond holders in South Africa, or even if they're foreigners that hold local retail bonds, and other loans that they've taken out to run this country to service various things. 5.2 trillion. The interest on that debt for the coming year is going to be 389 billion rand, about 390 billion. That is over a billion rand per day that the South African government is paying in interest only. Never mind the capital, just interest. It's like paying a credit card, but the balance is not going anywhere. You're just paying the interest. 5.2 trillion rand, 390 about billion rand in interest that needs to be paid. It is fucking shocking. Let me see if there's anything else I want to raise from these summaries. Nah, not really. If you want to, like I said, if you want to get a summary of the budget speech, if you want to watch the whole, I think it's 2 hours. It's available on YouTube. You can check it out. If you didn't watch it, there are people much smarter than me, more organized with me, with nice graphics that are going to be showing up and explaining the dynamics of these things. I just wanted to highlight the ones that really, really impact us the most. 15.5% is going to impact everyone in terms of VAT, value added tax. I've made a video. The last video I made when they postponed was me explaining what value added tax is. I think I touched on some of the other tax contributors. And I explained zero rated, VAT exempt, etc. If you want to go and check that out. I'm not going to redo that now. What else do I want to raise? 7, just under 8 million income tax payers in this country. 7 point something million that cater for grants for 28 million. I think 28, 29 million people that receive a grant. Unsustainable. And sadly, it's becoming more and more apparent that our government is a socialist government. Our government is hell-bent on exploiting taxpayers as much as possible to fund freebies that get us nowhere. Grants are freebies that get us nowhere. NSFAS, the grant portion, are freebies that get us nowhere. Pumping money into things like the national health insurance, pumping money into free education, which is not yielding employees and taxpayers, constantly bailing out state-owned enterprises who cannot run at a profit, who are running at a loss, that needs to be bailed out by human beings and businesses that are actually functional, is unsustainable. And we're seeing it in real time, that our Minister of Finance, the ANC government, actually doesn't know what the fuck they are doing, and they are fucking shit up, and they have no plan of building real investments, of ensuring that our children that are going through school are coming out on the other side with the ability to create businesses, to add value in jobs, to state-owned enterprises are running out of profit. We are now manufacturing. We're no longer importing from China. We don't need American products and German products. We don't need Indian products because we are there is no plan. There's no plan. And they're constantly going to want to get more debt to add on to this 5.2 trillion so that we're constantly just living to pay interest on debt like idiots. Man. Every year around this time, I make a video about how now that you've watched the national budget speech, have you had a home budget speech for yourself, your spouse, your family? And if you have not, I hope that this video is a wake-up call for you. Inokotongwana, Treasury, the South African government, the Government of National Unity Partners, the opposition in the EFF, MK, and others, they've done their thing regarding the money of the country. But what about your personal money? Because I can tell you now, as much as our budget and our monies as a country don't look good, there are certain families and communities that are shooting the lights out, that are doing incredibly well because they are focused on their family budget. They are focused on their community budget, and they are winning. So every year I post this, I'm going to post it in the comments again, my blueprint, my budget blueprint, which is based on an income of 10,000 Rand. You can then, if you earn 30,000, multiply by 3. If you earn 5,000, divide it in half. but it basically gives a breakdown of my template of what I think as a blueprint you should use for shelter, 30% of your income, transport, 20%, food, 15%. I add communication, I add investments, I add charity. There's a portion for gambling, which is essentially a high risk investments. There's a portion for other. And then I have notes. What shelter means, transport, whether you use a taxi or a bus or a train, but also if you have a car, your transport budget includes your car installment, your car insurance, the license disc you have to renew every year, the car wash, your fuel, paying car guards, and the like. Falls under transport, that 20%. Shelter is your rent or your bond, plus your house insurance, plus your rates and taxes, plus your electricity, plus your helper, plus your gardener. Your communication, your food includes takeaways, your investments, charity, gambling, and I write at the end there that, look, you can tweak this budget, of course, as and how you need it. If you have children, there's a portion there that says your children should only account for 20% of your budget. When people look at this, they're like, dude, I looked at this thing, I looked at my expenses, I'm like, you're smoking socks. There's no way I can fit this. And I say to people, I'm glad you're saying that, because what that tells me is you are living beyond your means. Similar to our government. If you're like, dude, but come on, you know how much school fees is, you know how much medical aid is. I'm like, I do. And I'm telling you, based on your income and based on a budget, you cannot afford those things. You maybe need to scrap medical aid and maybe save a little bit of money for medical expenses, but you can't afford medical aid. Where you send your kids to school, it's too expensive for you. Take your children out of that school, downgrade to another school that you can afford. And by afford, it's not just school fees, it's the school uniform, it's the transport to and from school, it's extramurals, it's their pocket money, it's their lunch, it's other things that happen. You cannot afford that school. Unfortunately, similar thing to your home. But dude, you know my rent takes half of my income. You're staying in a place that's too expensive. But the only place I can afford is in the township. That's what you can afford. That's where you should be. Yeah, but my car alone, that means you cannot afford a car. You should be catching a taxi. You cannot live within your means. And then you don't understand why you have an overdraft, why you constantly have to take out personal loans, why you constantly have payday loans, why you, I don't know if I mentioned credit cards. You have a lot of credit cards. You're struggling. Every month you're struggling. You don't understand why. It's because you do not have a budget. And after you have your budget, which you set out, then just like the minister, you then review it. There's a midterm budget, by the way. You review it every 3 months, every quarter, or every 6 months, which is biannual. And then you're like, are we within budget? A core component of the budget. Expenses are huge and they're a huge discussion. A core component of your budget is, what is your income? Our South African government, a big portion of income is tax, which is why when they're struggling with their expenses, they're like, tax them more. That's almost like saying, my expenses at home, let me tell my employer, give me more money. No, this year I've decided to tell my boss, no, you're going to give me more money here. More. It doesn't work like that in the real world, unfortunately. What you can do in the real world, which our government should be doing, is looking at, am I getting the best salary, or should I negotiate a better salary for the work that I'm putting in? How are my investments looking? What's my share portfolio looking like? My pension. Is it invested in the places that are yielding the best results? Or my shares just sitting with some mediocre money market accounts that are not even beating inflation? What other ways, what other assets can I accumulate? Should I buy an Uber that brings in more money? Should I open a little business on the side? Should I be selling something? Let me sell wigs or weaves. Let me maybe get into this network marketing, multi-level marketing, selling Tupperware. I think Tupperware is collapsing as a company. Amway, Longreach, Herbalife. How can I generate more income to cater for my expenses? So that by the time you get to the expenses, you're like, look, we'll tighten the belt there, but can we increase income here? Should I be building a business? Should I be doing something else? And then you have that conversation with the people that are your stakeholders. That's the one part. As you listen to the budget speech, some of the key things that you have to consider for your home budget is, we speak about social grants. Your home budget speech doesn't have social grants, but it can have something we call black tax in South Africa. And this is generally for black people, but there are white people, Indians, coloreds who have a form of black tax. What is black tax? Black tax is basically you sending money to your parents, to your grandparents, to your siblings, to your nieces and nephews. It is somewhat of a grant or some type of social welfare, gifting people money that you hope they will use for paying school fees, to add something in their home. So there is money that you donate. It could be airtime that you buy for your cousin. It could be when you visit family during the festive season and you buy your grand groceries. That is part of your social welfare budget, because that is money that is coming from your income that is going to do social welfare work for your family members, sometimes for your friends as well. Sometimes a loan that never gets paid back falls under that home SASA, social welfare of sorts. So you need to have a budget for that. But dude, you can't budget. Please budget for it, especially during the festive season. I normally make a video saying, have a budget when you go home, to say, people will be asking for 5 rands, a crate of beer here and there, what you're contributing to buying a goat. Have a budget so that when you go home, because a lot of people don't go home during the festive because they don't have money. You're like, this is my cap. I will only give my family 2,000 rand. I will only contribute 3,000 rand to that function. I will only donate 10 rand to this person. I have a budget. Beyond that, I'm sorry, I'm out. I will not give you more money, so that when I have to go back to the city in January, I have to take out loans for back to school. I have to take out loans. I can't pay my rent and all those things because I didn't budget for the social welfare components. Easter holidays are coming up. Many of you are going to be, again, dishing money with family members and friends. Do you have a budget for that? Are you just going to be spending money willy-nilly based on how happy you are at the time? Have a budget for social welfare in your home budget. Education. We have a Department of Education. Sivire Kharube has been criticized for the McDonald's bags, which are advertising McDonald's. Poor kids are going to have to be carrying these heavy things. We're going to see how that budget's going to be looking. Is it going to be used? Is it going to be? But at home, you guys have an education budget. Number one, if you have children, 100%. But what about your own personal education budget? Dog, I don't go to school. Are you not educating yourself? Do you not buy books that you read? If you're not, maybe you should be buying books that are going to help you learn about money, investments, exercise, etc. Do you maybe pay some subscription for audiobooks? Do you attend events, conferences? Do you subscribe to certain magazines that are educational, etc., etc.? Are you maybe studying extra? Night school, I dropped an episode with the SRC president of UNISA. Are you maybe corresponding through UNISA and the like? Are you investing in your education? If not, maybe you should. And do you have a budget? Now, my budget for education every month is 200 rand. So I normally buy myself a book, or I buy a newspaper, but this invest in my education. I'm subscribed to the Penuel show because Penuel educates me, or I donate to Penuel because I learn so much from him. That is part of my budget. It's not money that I'm just sucking out of nowhere. Part of it could be you maybe contributing to family members' children's schooling. Someone who's studying at tertiary, that can be part of education. What is your education budget? With the hope, by the way, that whoever you're investing in, it's going to yield returns at some point, including yourself. I'm educating myself so that I can get a promotion at work. I'm educating myself so that I can budget better, so that I can get investments, and very important. Of course, we speak about health. Aaron Mutsaledi is going to speak about the national health insurance, etc. What is your healthcare budget at home? Medical aid is a big one, but do you have a budget for just over-the-counter medicines and your med lemons, as we get into winter, your flu shot and the like? What is your budget for healthcare? For some of you with medical aid, your savings run out if you have savings. Some of you only have a hospital plan. You may have to dish some money out, etc. So what is your budget for that? To say every month, is your budget maybe a credit card? To be like, my healthcare plan is that I've got a 50,000 rand credit card that I pay towards every month. I don't use it, but it's only for medical emergencies. If my child needs medicine, if we need to go to the doctor, if there's a co-payment, even with medical aid, I then swipe that credit card. And then that little money that I pay towards the credit card and any debt it accumulates, that becomes my healthcare budget, but it's being catered for. Very, very important. Part of your healthcare budget, by the way, could be exercise. It really, really could be exercise, because a form of healthcare is making sure that you're healthy. Are you eating well? Are you going to the gym? Gym itself could be part of your health budget. If, like Discovery, Adrian Gore, and Vitality, if our government was to say to society, if you exercise and we see that you're running marathons, that you're going to the gym, we will allocate more of a budget from government for you. If you're not exercising, we'll allocate less because you're not investing in yourself. So we as the government are saying you will jump the queue at a clinic, at a hospital, if we can see this card like Vitality and Discovery that says, but this person's taking care of themselves. They are healthy. You guys that refuse to be healthy, you'll stand at the back of the queue. But it's like a double whammy. It's a double whammy because we need you guys to be healthy. The healthier the population, the less burden on the healthcare system. But now if people are not healthy, we now have to pay more for them. They're smoking, they're drinking, they're eating garbage and the like. That needs to be stopped. So one of the things to consider in your healthcare budget is gym, is exercise, is going for walks, is going to races, is buying gym equipment, eating well. You can factor that in. Look, part of my healthcare budget is going to straddle my food budget to make sure that I eat healthier. And for some people, maybe healthier food is a bit more pricey. Maybe you might find yourself actually saving more on food because you've decided to be healthier as well. Transport, we've got a Minister of Transport. What is your transport budget? Spoke about cars and the like. Do you need a mix? Do you need to drive your car every day? What if you drive your car and park at the Gautrain station and then catch the Gautrain? What if certain days you're like, no, I'll catch a taxi today. Part of your budget could be, am I planning to travel for the year and long distance? Do I have a budget for flights? Do I have a budget for when I travel to another city or another country? Am I going to be renting a car there? Maybe even in a foreign currency. What does that look like? I've got a transport mix. It's not just about my car. Sometimes I catch a taxi. Sometimes I catch the train. Sometimes I catch the bus. Sometimes I catch flights. Where I'm going, I need to apply for a visa. It's going to cost me money. Maybe I need to get a passport for the first time and I need to pay money. That's transport. Just getting around. And transport could be for you, could be for your spouse, could be for your children. My children's transport now, I didn't put it under the education budget. I put it under transport. My children cost money to and from school. Sometimes my kids are traveling on excursions. That costs money. And that's part of my transport budget. Security, of course, we have the police. We have our soldiers who might be coming back from the DRC. What is your security budget? If you live within a complex or an estate, that includes your levies, for example. If you live in a standalone house, your electric fence, the alarm system that you have, the security that are on call, that becomes part of your security budget that you pay every month. Things like maybe pepper spray, maybe if you have a gun, you have a gun license, going to the shooting range, things like maybe learning how to fight, mixed martial arts, boxing. You're like, this is part of my security budget. I want to make sure that my family is safe. And I'm training my children as well to be able to fight, to use weapons. We've got an alarm system. We've got dogs. Dogs could be part of your security budget. I've got dogs that need to be immunized, that need to be fed dog food, and I pay for them because they are part of my security at my home. Communications budget, of course, your cell phones, contracts, your laptop, your internet subscription, like your television subscriptions and the like. That's communication budget, which we have for our country as our country as well. I spoke about debt, the 5.2 trillion as a country. What does your debt look like? Have you done cumulative in your budget? These are my credit cards. This is my personal loan. This is my overdraft. This is my revolving loan. This is my home loan. This is my debt as a whole. And this is how much interest I'm paying per month. And when I look at this budget, is there a way to consolidate? Should I be speaking to a financial advisor? Should I be speaking to the banks? My insurance payments every month. Can I sit with someone and say, look, I've got life insurance here and I've got this insurance there. Should I be looking at a package that makes kind of sense for everyone? Do I need these funeral covers? Do I need all these things? Let's maybe sit down and plan better. Let me look at my debt. Can I consolidate? Do I need this personal loan or should I take a credit card? Should I scrap the credit card and use a personal loan? Can I lower my interest payments? Do I need to be paying so much interest? Why do I have an overdraft? Why do I have these things? And you sit and you tweak these things to make sure that they make sense for you. I spoke about sin tax, the cigarettes, the alcohol, etc. How you cut down on sin tax is to cut down on your consumption of these things. If you drink less booze, you pay less tax and you're spending less money on garbage. And part of that garbage is now you don't have to go to the gym as much. Now you don't have to worry about your healthcare as much because you're drinking less, you're smoking less. Maybe move from cigarettes to vape with the hope of moving from vape to not smoking at all. And you work on that. Move from hard liquors, the spirits, to maybe a beer and a cider, to maybe like a sparkling wine. And then later on, you're like, you know what, now I'm just doing a cool drink, which is still bad, and I pay a sugar tax, but at least I'm cutting down on the things that are destroying my liver and. So you consider some of those things. Spoke about home costs, things like maintenance, very, very important. Um, this could either fall under your home. I'm maintaining my home, something's broken, my car needs to be fixed, servicing the car twice a year, whatever the case may be. Maybe I travel a lot, a bit more. Clothing, and grooming, cutting your hair, hairstyling. There needs to be a budget for that, especially for ladies who do their hair once a month or once every 2 weeks, doing your nails. That comes at a cost. Do you consider those things? Your children, especially if you have girl children. Boy children, it's easy, baba. It's really shy brush cards, no me fade, baba. But with girl children, they do the hairstyles and they do the this and the. And once you have girl children that are teenagers, then you have to worry about sanitary towels or tampons. They want makeup. They want accessories. They are clothing. They're always shopping. So your home budget, even if you do it once a year, as soon as the Minister of Finance has done it, you're like, hey, I watched this guy, Penuel the Black Pen. As a family, let's chat via WhatsApp. Let's have a sit down. What is our budget? It can be rough. What are we paying towards these things? Can we have a look at these things? What debt are you sitting on? Do we need that thing? Hey, the children's school fees, man. Let's actually have a hard chat. That I think the school is too expensive. We love the school. It's great. Our children are happy, but we cannot afford it. Maybe let's cut down on the school, send them to a cheaper school, a more affordable school maybe, to put it in better English. And let's maybe take some of these savings and say, we can now afford to take our children overseas. We can now afford to get our children a PlayStation 5. We can afford to do something else for our children that we've always wanted because we've now cut down on that. Our healthcare costs, our medical aid, should we maybe just do hospital care and then maybe get a credit card, as Penn said, so that if anything happens and you need to be hospitalized, we do have a 50,000 Rand credit card that's sitting. If we don't use the credit card, we win. But now on the flip side, if we don't use this medical aid, come end of the year, that money disappears and we start again next year. So let's have a sit down on what works. Do we need to drive the cars every day? Should I maybe give you a lift if you have a spouse? Should we be driving the kids? Can we get transport? Maybe let's start looking for a school closer to where we live so that our kids don't have to pay for transport. There's a sad story recently of kids that passed away on the highway. I think it may have been a taxi or bus, I'm not sure. And one of the comments that came out, the person was like, I'm sorry if this is insensitive, but why are your children driving so far to go to school? Why are you not looking for schools closer to where you live so that kids are not every day on the highway, increasing the probabilities of being in a car accident? We lost 22 people, 22 lives in the last 2 days in accidents. So things like your buses, your taxis that are speeding, kids are late for school. Do your kids need to be traveling 20, 30 kilometers to school? Or could you be looking for another way? Now their health is much better, their safety is much better. Maybe even saving money on transport and school fees and the like. These are the conversations we need to have. And as I said, one of the things we don't speak about enough is there's the expense, the debt side of your budget. But let's please try and focus on this income side. I was in China City yesterday. I was in Dragon City, which does wholesale and they do hair products and the like. I love visiting those places because they stimulate this entrepreneurial culture. You go there, you go to Fordsburg, Mayfair, if you know the Joburg area. You go to places like Small Street in the CBD. These places that are buzzing in terms of entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial culture. And I was looking at how a lot of the people, they are not South African. They're not black. A lot of Somalians, a lot of Nigerians, of course, they are Chinese people. And you're like, these people are here for business and trade. Where are the black South Africans that are coming to stock? In that Crown Mines area, you go to places like Jumbo Wholesale, you go to Africa Wholesale, Yaruna Wholesale, and you see the foreigners, they're stocking products to go to their hair salons, to go to their spaza shops, to go and sell. Black South Africans in particular, but I'm including my white brothers and sisters. My Indian brothers and sisters are, of course, in business already. My colored brothers and sisters. Guys, we need to foster entrepreneurship. I hate the fact that schools are very comfortable with children coming every day to buy from the tuck shop, but schools don't have a culture of saying children must bring stock to school so that during break and after school they can sell. Schools need to change this. Our South African schools need to change the culture. Children need to bring stock to school. to come and sell during break, recess, after school for children that want to buy. If they're not buying, then they must be bartering. At break, there are children that barter sneakers, that barter clothing. There are children that are bartering other goods, so that we now have an entrepreneurial culture in the school. And outside of that, make entrepreneurship an extramural activity. Not every child wants to play chess, wants to play rugby, wants to play hockey, wants to play netball, wants to play soccer. Some children want to debate, some children want to do drama, but what about children that want to be entrepreneurs? Can we have entrepreneurship as a real extramural where kids are even competing with each other? The entrepreneurs at this school, always on sports days, are selling. They've now opened an online store. They are doing drop shipping. We saw these kids at the school with their school uniform during school hours going to stock because the school allows them, because it's part of their extramurals. They are traveling to a market somewhere. There's a market in town. There's a market in some place. They are visiting these conferences at the convention center in Durban or Cape Town or Sandton. They're traveling overseas to conferences to understand how to sell online. They have investment portfolios. They're discussing whether their shares have gone up or gone down. And you've got young kids in school fully plugged into the business world because we've got entrepreneurship as an extramural. You don't have to wait for government. You can do it in your home. Again, I spoke about the Indians. There are many other communities. The Afrikaners love farming. Of course, their children on the weekends are at the farm. They're there milking the cows. They're there riding the horses. They're there at the auctions, busy selling sheep and goats and the like. It's plugged in. And it starts with us at home, making sure that we have our own home vision. And it starts with us having our home budget. And also looking at things like unemployment in your home. Does everyone have a job in your home? Your children are assets sitting there. Can they maybe cut on some of the costs? Your home costs include a helper. Do you need a helper if you've got a daughter that's 14, if you've got a son that's 17? They can wash the dishes. They can sweep and mop. They can do their own laundry. Buy a washing machine. You don't need a helper. If you've got children that are teenagers, 17, 14, do you need a nanny on weekends? They can look after children, the neighbors and the like, and they can bring income in for themselves to cut down on pocket money. We're sleeping on some of these things because we don't have a plan and a vision. And people just wait for government like they're waiting for God to provide manna/grants from heaven. It's not a sustainable model. And as I said, our national budget looks bad, but I can promise you now there are families and there are communities that in the last year have made more money than they've ever made in their lives, that their investments have grown, including offshore investments. They have bought assets, their children have jobs or have started businesses, and they are doing really well. They've cut down on their expenses, they've cut down on restructured their debt, and they are winning. That's my message for you guys today. I hope you'll have a great and blessed day. And again, thank you to the Minister of Finance for his budget. I think it's rubbish. The ANC government is destroying this country. We need to get them out. And we're going to see when the rest of Parliament reconvenes what the other political parties are going to be doing. Umkhonto is argued that they'll protest. We'll see if the EFF is going to be siding with the ANC. We'll see if the DA votes with the ANC to make sure that they accept this budget and what's going to be happening with VAT and the like. Maybe last but not least, they took a tweet of mine. I don't know what news channel it was on TV, and they spoke about some of the suggestions I had made about how to fix our budget. Small, easy examples. Cut out deputy ministers. We don't need deputy ministers. It's a waste of money. Lower some of the salaries that you're paying your members of parliament and some of the ministers is too much. Cut out a lot of the benefits. They don't need a lot of those benefits. You can table them and we can show you. Do you need all these flights every year? Do you need your family to be getting these things? Do you need these blue lights? That extra cost and the security and the like, cut that out. We need to look into rewiring or redirecting money for grants into investments, into small business capacitate small businesses, upskilling certain people, subsidies for businesses and the like. The ANC, man, doesn't really have a plan. They're not the best, and we need better minds, brighter minds. Look at people like myself. Look at people like Dan Corder. Look at people like Dr. Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh. Look at people like Vusi Tembekwayo. Look at people like Nicolette Mashile. Andre Botma is a tax advisor on social media. There are so many other people. Bapusha. There are people in this country that have the right idea on where to take this country. Some of our greatest entrepreneurs, Christo Visa with ShopRite and Pepco, Sizwe Ngasana, and many others. We've got brilliant minds in this country. Get them around the table. And no, we're not asking Cyril Ramaphosa to set up a presidential committee or kill me now. We're just saying there are people that have good ideas, and these need to be taken up. They need to be tabled. And if they're not going to work at a national level, maybe we can start getting certain government departments, certain municipalities to be like, let's bring these guys in. They look out like they have the right idea. And we need to bring them on board as advisors to come and help us. I'm just trying to get a name. I want to give this lady a shout out. Dr. Nasipi Moya. Dr. Nasipi Moya, who is the mayor of Tshwane, under a coalition government representing Action SA, is doing a brilliant job. And I'd like to applaud her. And I hope she inspires more mayors out there. CC Dada Morero in Johannesburg inspires more mayors to actually do amazing work. Another mayor who gets a huge spotlight is the mayor of Cape Town, Jordan Hill Lewis, doing a good job there as well. I remember when Gayton McKenzie was the mayor in the Central Karoo. He was also doing an amazing job. We need more mayors to use social media to show us the work they're doing. Show us the work they're doing. Let us criticize you. Let us advise. And inspire other mayors to do the same. Don't hide. Don't hide. Let's see you. You have a PR team. If you don't have a PR team, get young kids that are on social media to join your team and to capture the work you're doing and update the citizens in real time. But to Dr. Nasipi Moya, please keep it up. And we hope you inspire other mayors to do the same. This is now leading up to either next year or in 2027, the local elections, where we're going to be voting for our mayors, our ward councillors, and the like. I hope political parties are paying attention. Have a great and blessed day, man. Love you guys. I appreciate you. And thank you to everyone who donates money, especially to my lives, but who also offers super thanks to the videos that I make. It goes a long way. I am buying various things that are adding value to the work that I'm doing. And I will be updating you guys in real time as I buy more equipment and other things as well. I love you. I appreciate you. Penuel the black pen, Penuel pen mnyama, usiwa ulunsundu, Penuel the sword pen, pene enso. I appreciate you guys. Cheers.